Join me as we dive into Ollama's newest release and uncover its two pretty cool features, one of which, it's not pretty cool, it's amazing, and it's been asked for ages. Almost since the beginnings of the Ollama project, folks have been asking for one feature more than anything else that never quite got answered. Sure, there were workarounds that got the job done, but it felt like it should be easier, and it just got easier. My name is Matt Williams, and I make content on this channel mostly about local AI solutions. That's because I was part of the original Ollama team, and even though I'm not part of the team now, I still love what they're doing, and I'm still eager to share it with everyone. You can find out more about Ollama just by going to their homepage at ollama.com, and you can click on the button in the middle to download Ollama and get it installed. But what if you already have Ollama and you know that there's a new version? Well, if you're on a Mac, you can click on the icon in your menu bar and you'll have an option to download the latest version when there's a new version. And you have the corresponding icon on Windows down in the lower right side. And you can click that and grab the latest version. If you're on Linux, just rerun the install script and don't worry, it's not going to reinstall everything, it'll just update. Updating will never remove models. Anything that was there before will be there after the update. And if you're using Docker, as long as you ran Docker using a volume for your models, which you should be doing, then stop the container, delete it, then pull the latest version and start it up again, using the same command as before. To make that easier next time, look into using Watchtower to always stay updated on all of your Docker containers. Let's take a look at what's new in this latest version. The best place to go to find out about the current release is the GitHub repo. Ollama is first and foremost a developer tool, so it makes sense for that to be the authoritative source of information. On the right side is the releases section. Click on the latest release and you'll get to the README for the release. At the top of the README, you'll see new models. Now, there aren't actually any new models that are part of the release in 0311 or any release. These new models are simply the new models that were released since the previous version. The important part of the README is actually what's below, what's changed. Items 2 and 4 are definitely interesting, and if those issues affected you, I'm sure you're pretty excited. Item 3 is definitely going to resonate with a lot of people. Well, at least the ones who are using Ollama in Docker. I use a Mac, and when using Docker on the Mac, you don't have access to the GPU, so this is less exciting for me. But if you're on Windows or Linux, then when running Ollama in Docker, Ollama will start running almost immediately, usually about 5 seconds faster than it ran before. Well, that's pretty awesome. Item number 1, however, well, that is the exciting one. It looks kind of simple, but it is amazing. For a long time, people have asked, after running a model and running a generation, how do I remove the model from memory? Because it takes up a lot of memory. How much memory? Well, it depends on the model you're using. A 7 billion parameter model can easily take 7-8 gigs of memory. 70 billion parameter model, well, that can take up a lot more, closer to 40, 50, 60 gigs of memory or more. Before today, the easiest way to unload a model immediately was to make a call to the Generate API, specifying the model that you want to unload, and then using the key keep alive and setting that to 0. Run that, and it will unload the model. Basically, it's saying keep alive for 0 seconds. Even though Ollama is a developer tool first, there are plenty of users who are not developers, and that seems a little difficult. There are plenty of scripts that you can find in the Discord that show you exactly what to do, but still, folks wanted a simpler way. So now with Ollama, you can just run the Ollama command, Ollama stop, and whatever model you want to unload from memory. If you have a few models running, then you'd have to run Ollama stop with each of those models. I guess you could also create a one-liner to unload all the models all at once. Here's one that I wrote up for that I can run on a Mac. It should also run on Linux, and I'm not really sure about running on Windows. Okay, so now let's scroll back up to the models that are new since the last release. The first is Solar Pro Preview. Now, as it says, this is a preview release for a new model that's going to be released in full in November or so. If you go to the announcement for this model, you'll see they've got some pretty extreme views of how powerful this model might be. They say it's the most intelligent model to fit on a single GPU. We all know what happens when people make claims like this. They rarely turn out to be true. It definitely appears to be an interesting model, though often the responses tend to be rather brief, rather than as full and complete as models like Llama 3.1 will give. Rather than provide any actual examples in their blog post, they simply resort to benchmarks. And we all know how benchmarks can be gamed and faked. So as I've mentioned many times before, never take benchmarks at face value. Always test the models yourself to see which models work best for you. But now that I think about it, most of the really intelligent people that I've met and talked to tend to be reluctant to have to work with other real, breathing humans. They just want to answer the question as quickly as possible and get out of there. And so maybe their brief responses show that maybe they are a super intelligent LLM. But there are lots of other models I'd rather have a conversation with and answer my questions than Solar. The next model on the list is Qwen 2.5. Now, according to the description, they've worked hard at making this model more knowledgeable and better in all ways than Qwen 2. Looks like there's a Qwen 2.5 in 0.5 billion parameter model, 1.5, 3, 7, 14, 32, and 72 billion parameters. Looks to be a really good model to use for most use cases. In fact, comparing it to Solar Pro that I just looked at, I'd say Qwen 2.5 7 billion seems to answer better in most cases than Solar Pro 22, which was supposed to be more intelligent? Interesting. There's also a math and coder variant of the model, but those weren't yet available on Ollama for this release. But they're already out before I finish this video. Bespoke Mini Check is super interesting and definitely not a typical general purpose model. It can only answer any prompt with a yes or a no, and that's it. If you ask any general question, it will answer with a no. But if you format your question as document and then some statement, and then on a new line, claim, and what you want to verify, it'll answer with a yes or no whether your claim is supported by the document. Is something positive or negative? That's pretty cool and definitely worth playing around with. Next is Mistral Small. At 22 billion parameters, it's definitely not small, but it's smaller than large, so there is that. It claims to be really great at translation and summarization, as well as sentiment analysis, and better in general at reasoning. I tried a number of summarization tasks around my videos, and it did a pretty amazing job, especially compared to a lot of the other models I've used. Finally, there's Reader LM. This is another interesting one, as it's designed for a very specific task. You won't ask a question of the model. Instead, you give it some HTML, and it will convert it to Markdown. There are plenty of tools that will take HTML and convert to Markdown. Often it does a okay job at first, but with a bit of tweaking, you can really generate some good Markdown. And so I fed some HTML to the model, and at first glance, it seemed to do a better job of converting it to Markdown than any of those traditional conversion tools on the first run. But when I looked a bit closer, it turned out to have generated something that had nothing to do with what I had given it. It was a page that just doesn't exist. So yeah, a bit disappointing. But I guess we'll continue to see folks trying to use models for other tasks to see what they can do. It's like when folks want models to do math or OCR. There are better tools for those tasks that have existed for 20 years that perform faster on your 486 than these do on the latest screaming hardware. But that's what we have for version 0.3.11 of Ollama. What do you think? I'm super jazzed about Ollama Stop and Mistral Small. Are there any other features you've wanted out of Ollama that are still not there? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.